Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, man, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business here on this morning's edition of Don't Sleep on the Dallas Cowboys, because you literally cannot sleep on the Dallas Cowboys. Things happen late in the evening, late at night, first thing in the morning, so you want to be up to speed with all that is America's team. And I know it's a little later than usual getting this video out. But my wife was in a car accident the other day and totaled her car, and we're still getting that stuff straight. So I take her to work this morning and stuff while we work on getting everything straight. And she's fine, good, and all that. So that's the most important thing. The cars can be replaced, people can't. So keep that in mind. When bad things happen, think about the positives that it could have been a lot worse. Okay, so excuse my coughing here. Wash it down with some coffee. Okay, so here at the Joe Boo Sports Report, I ruffle a lot of feathers, and it's all good. I don't mind that at all. What I like to try and do is give you guys the possibilities of things that can happen and reasons why I think things will or will not happen, or be kind of like a myth buster and debunk the myths. One of the first things that I started talking about years ago was how everybody talked about Tony Romo being a choker. Yeah, that's right. Yes, I used to defend Tony Romo, and it never was about me not liking Tony Romo. It was just that he was at his point in his career where his body failed him. But you would always hear on ESPN the narrative that Tony Romo was not Mr. December, that he was a choker. But the facts were at the time, he was leading the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks. And I would come out here and say, look, man, you're wrong. It's not true. And people say, well, you're just a Dak defender. You just no, I'm putting out there the numbers and the statistics that back up my claim that the narrative is wrong on stuff. That's what I do. And when everybody told me that Dak Prescott was RG3 2.0, that he had regressed and it was just he was a 1 year wonder, I kind of pointed back and said, no, that's not the way it is. Watch, look at here's the reasons behind it. You had a change in losing Des Bryant and of course Jason Witten. Okay, you've got all these new wide receivers that are coming in. Nobody's a dominant. You know, I forget. I'm not even going to go into all it. We all know. If you've been watching the channel, you know where I go with that. But now the narrative, of course, is you can't pay Dak Prescott because then you can't field the team. And it seems like only the Dallas Cowboys have that concern. Nobody else has the concern. The San Francisco 49ers, who currently have the most in quarterback money tied up, nobody's saying that they need to get rid of Case Keenum, and even getting rid of him, they still will spend $32 million on their quarterback, still one of the highest in the NFL. Nobody's saying that they can't do that because they can't build a team, knowing that they have a lot of needs. But Cowboy fans are out there. Some of you guys aren't even realistic, saying you should pay him $6 million a year. Come on, guys. Listen. There's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And not all 32 of them are good. There's about 15 or 20 that are decent or good quarterbacks in the world. Seeing what San Francisco has, seeing what Denver has spent on quarterbacks, between moving up in the draft for Paxton Lynch, between paying guy after guy after guy, lets you know it's not an easy thing to just get a franchise quarterback. Dak's going to get paid. And everybody keeps saying, well, you can't pay that because then you don't have money to pay anybody else. And that's just wrong. You don't understand how the cap works. Right now you have $45 million, which is amazing in itself. 2 years ago, we were 25 over the cap. 25 over the cap. This past season, we ended up starting the season with $19 million in cap space, and we ended the season with $14 million. You're following what I'm saying? We spent $17 million on tagging DeMarcus Lawrence, which was part of that money. We did a second round tender, which was $2.2 million for David Irving. We redid Zach Martin's deal to a long-term contract, which is part of that money. We brought in Alan Hearns and Cam Fleming, and other people on the team. We signed all of our rookies, and we still ended up with $14 million that was carried over, and that was having $24 million in dead money last year. You see my point? Because here's what you can look at. The Cowboys can do anything they want to do. They can sign Byron Jones. They can sign DeMarcus Lawrence. They can sign Dak and Zeke to extensions. They can take care of Amari Cooper. They can even bring in Earl Thomas if they want to. It's all in how you manipulate the numbers. Understand, Zach Martin got his long-term deal last year, and it reduced his cap number last year. Let me say it again. When we redid Zach Martin's number, his contract, gave him and made him the highest paid guard in football, it reduced his cap number for last year. Because, see, let me give you an example of things that the Cowboys can do. This season, Zach Martin's cap number is $14 million. If they want to, and for that person who said that, this is a crap diagram that I made, I didn't make this. This is over the cap, which does breakdowns of every team, every position, and everything else. So if you want to say it's crap, well, go back to over the cap and let them know. But this is their chart, and I think it's a damn good one, to be quite honest, because you can look through our money all the way through 2024. But as we look through, you don't want to mess with Tyron Smith, because Tyron Smith is getting a little long in the tooth, and we've messed with that one over the years a couple of times and stuff. You just want to leave that as it is. But you can take Zach Martin, whose cap number for next year is $14 million. If you really need to, if you say that this season is the year that we need to go all in, and we need to sign that player, what you can do is, you can take that $10 million right there, base salary, and what you can do is, I'm sorry, not Zach Martin, Amari Cooper. You can take Amari Cooper, I didn't mean Zach Martin, but there are triggers in Zach Martin's contract. You can basically grab $10 million just by changing some of his salary money into guaranteed money, and then it'll be divided out over the years. And what I'll do is I'll use Amari Cooper for that example. Amari Cooper is almost $14 million cap hit for next year, right? That's included so that's where we get our space from after paying him that next year. What they can do is they can sign him to an extension. Let's say it's a 5-year, $75 million deal, okay? 5 years, $75 million. And hypothetically, let's say they take $30 million, I'm going to say that's guaranteed money. We're going to pay you regardless of what you ever do in football again, $30 million. Not too far off the map. So you take that guaranteed money and you divide it by the amount of years in the contract. So that's $6 million a year you're paying every year on that contract. Are you still with me now, right? So that leaves $45 million that's left on the contract. And if every year you were paying the exact same thing, that's $6.5 million per year. Okay? So that drops the number. If you were to pay him 6.5 a year, that would mean that would go down to $12.5 million off of the almost 14 that you're paying. However, you can set those pay structures however you want. Since I'm handing you a check for $30 million, how about we go ahead and make this first year $2 million for a cap hit? Now, your cap number is only $8 million for this season. And by doing so, you have now created cap space. You follow what I'm saying here? You've now gone from having a 13.9 cap number, giving this guy a long-term contract that he's going to feel good about, and end up taking and getting $6 million in cap room. But wait, there's more. Then you start looking at the roster, and as you start going through, and you can do that. Same thing with Byron Jones. You can pay him. Now his cap number is only $6 million, but you can do a extension for him where it's still basically $6 or maybe $7 million, $8 million for that first year, cap number wise. So you're not eating up a whole lot of money there. And then you start looking at guys like, say, Tyrone Crawford. Tyrone Crawford, I love Tyrone Crawford. But you start looking at it and saying, is he worth the $10 million? Or can we, go ahead and say, Tyrone, we want you back, but maybe we need a little bit of a redo on, not a restructure, basically a redo of that contract where it's a little more team friendly. And if it's not, well, if you cut him, that's another $6 million. And I'm not saying cut Tyrone Crawford because he had a great season last year. But you look at, again, Sean Lee, $10 million cap hit. If you cut him, you got $7 million in relief. Or you say, Sean, we're going to redo this contract. So when you start looking at, $6 million here, or if you want to get a $10 million chunk right there from Zach Martin, or if you want to go ahead and do something with Tyrone Crawford, you're talking about another $6 million chunk there. Talking about another $7 million chunk here. Lyle Collins, that's another guy that you look at. He's the seventh highest paid right tackle in football. You look at that and say, are we better off maybe looking for an alternative? Maybe moving Connor Williams to tackle and maybe have Xavier Salafalo as guard or move Joe Looney. Those are decisions, and I'm not saying what the Cowboys should do or shouldn't do. I'm not saying which players should stay and should go. But what I am pointing out is when people tell you that the Cowboys are cash struck and you can't sign Dak because there's no money to, they're flat out wrong. And the Dallas Cowboys are masters of the capology. We've been in cap hell for years and have been able to sign players. So don't fall for that crap that don't pay Dak because it's going to screw your franchise. And I'm not saying pay him $33, $34 million. I think the $25, $26 million range is about right for him. But to think that you're going to be able to pay him $15 million a year? Come on, guys. Let's get real. So that's what I got this morning. And I appreciate all of you guys coming in here and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. I'm Mark Holmes with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and thank you for watching.